So Pokemon Go actually was a CIA psyop, and they kinda just admitted it. Niantic, the company behind the game, announced that they've been spying on everyone playing it the entire time, using user data to build the most realistic 3D map of the world that could even put Google Maps to shame. Because whenever they wanted pics, videos, or any sort of data for a specific location, instead of paying expensive geo-navigators to map it out like Google does, they would just put a rare Pokemon there, and thousands of people would do it for free. As a matter of fact, some people would even pay Niantic through in-game purchases to do their data collecting work for them, like paying a company to work for them. And they all agreed to it in their terms of service, which no one ever reads but always accepts. All to train an AI model on one of the largest geospatial maps for navigation ever, and this is how the CIA was actually behind it all. So, Niantic released this official report, stating that they were using their games to build something called an LGM, Large Geospatial Model. And just like generative AI like ChatGPT uses enormous systems of info called large language models, LLMs, to train AI how to generate answers, this is sort of the same thing, except with geographic data instead of just text, tricking millions of people to map out every detail of the physical world using their phones, which is a monstrous amount of data, all while being tracked by their phone's GPS. Similar to how Google Maps collects data using their Google vans, except they spend millions of dollars doing it. Niantic instead turned it into a game, convincing millions of people to do it for free or even pay them to do their work for them. And I think we can all remember how mega viral this game was when it first came out. Like, everyone was playing it. Released on July 6th in the summer of 2016, where you'd run around catching Pokemon in the world's first viral augmented reality game. The entire in-game map was based on the real world, where you'd have to go to a physical location to catch a certain Pokemon or claim territory. And people got pretty obsessed with it, so much that countries like Bosnia even had to release an official warning telling people not to go into minefields while playing the game. And members of Egypt's national defense claimed that it was a spy tool used by government agencies around the world, infiltrating our countries under the pretext of entertainment. Turns out they might have been onto something. Even posts on Reddit over 8 years ago called it and were called crazy for it. Obviously, Niantic initially denied everything, saying they were all just fabricated rumors. But then in November 2024, they admit they were kind of spying on you, tracking and collecting data on everything you did while playing it, from pictures and videos captured by your phone's camera while you were trying to catch a Snorlax, on top of geolocation data telling them where you are, where you were, what route you took to get there, when you were at each spot, how long it took you to get there, what you're looking at, what you were looking at, what you look like, and what files you have on your phone. Feeding this data into their AI model, they can do things like look at any picture in the world and use AI to tell us exactly where it is. I mean, they could have just asked Rainbolt, but whatever. But I think you can see why intelligence agencies would be interested in information like this. Training AI by collecting data from millions of users around the world, including pedestrian areas inaccessible by cars and even inside their own homes. Unlike Google Maps, which mainly collects images from street and satellite views, and wasn't actually made by Google. Their maps and Earth software were bought from another company called Keyhole, which initially launched as Earth Viewer 3D in the early 2000s, absolutely revolutionary for its time. Then the government takes notice, and things get interesting. In 2003, a company called InQtel, IQT, reaches out and announces a strategic investment in Keyhole. IQT is a venture capital investment firm set up and funded by the CIA, which they openly admit to like it's not a secret, establishing a link to all that valuable Earth data directly to the US government, which is totally understandable. Governments need this sort of data, but they didn't stop there. In 2004, Keyhole is bought by Google, while the CIA continued to work in close partnership with them. In 2010, a new startup is launched by Keyhole's initial founder, John Hank, within Google's internal incubator program. The name of this new startup was Niantic Labs, the eventual developer of Pokemon Go, who were funded by Google up until 2016 when they became independent and released the game to the world. The original CEO of IQT, that CIA investment company, was Gilman Louie, a well-decorated man heavily involved and recognized by the CIA with many awards from the intelligence community, who also happens to be on the board of directors of Niantic. So the US government was directly involved with Keyhole in the development of Earth mapping software, then joined forces with Google Maps, and finally got the person that started it all to create Niantic Labs, and proceeded to use Pokemon Go to spy on millions of people who took pictures and videos of the world and even inside their homes, as well as tons of other geodata to build a CIA-backed, hyper-detailed 3D map of the world. But it doesn't end there. If that somehow didn't convince you, WikiLeaks already kinda exposed this back in 2017. In March of that year, they released a confirmed CIA leak of surveillance techniques. In those documents was a list of code names used for special projects, among which about a third of them were names of Pokemon. Yeah, like for real. They had Dugtrio, an Android attack program, Spearow and Starmie, hacking tools used to compromise Samsung devices and get private information, Lugia, a malware targeting newer mobile station modem cell phones, along with Totodile, Steelix, Snubble, and Flaffy, all official code names used by the CIA for other hacking tools and malware, which all came out just a year after Pokemon Go was released in 2016. Dude, so what? The CIA has a bunch of pictures and location data. What's the big deal? They potentially have detailed 3D maps of every little nook and cranny of every major city. And this goes beyond just the United States. Here's a heat map of all Pokemon Go data collected from around the world, including the inside of people's homes, where everything is, what times of day they do certain things. So, I don't know, you tell me what someone could do with that. Which, reminder, this was all in the TOS, so anyone who played the game technically agreed to it. Remember, if something is ever free, chances are you are the product.